The criminal underworld isn't just made up of men. Sometimes, women of the mob could be just as powerful and ruthless as the likes of Al Capone and Lucky Luciano. The following dangerous dames were either married to a mobster, had connections to the mob, or tried to avoid the mob taking over their own empire. Either way, these are 5 notable women you really didn't want to cross, and what we're about to uncover will literally blow you away. Helen Gillis was born in 1911 and died in 1987, and she was most famous for being the wife of Prohibition-era bank robber Babyface Nelson. Nelson was gunned down in a dramatic style in 1934 after a gun battle with FBI agents. Helen soon became more popular when Babyface Nelson became involved with John Dillinger, who was a big name in the media at the time. In 1931, Gillis was declared public enemy number 1 with a shoot-to-kill order in effect. She was never really involved with mob operations as such, and her only crime was being by the side of Nelson throughout his career, and for harboring him as he lay dying. After the death of Dillinger in July 1934 and her husband in November 1934, Helen ended up turning informant to bring down fellow mobster John Paul Chase. Second on our list, we look at Griselda Blanco, who went by many nicknames, but our favorite was the Black Widow. She was the queen of narcotics in Colombia and only passed away recently in 2012, although it wasn't through natural causes. Griselda, age 69, was gunned down by a drive-by shooting. Even at an early age, she was involved in kidnapping and ransom, with one account claiming she shot a child when she was only 11 years old herself. She was famous for building relations with America and Colombia in the 1970s and 80s. In a distribution network that was said to be earning $80 million a month, her methods were as violent as they come, and she was thought to have been behind 200 murders. Due to her violent nature, she was constantly a target for contracted hits. We now come to a midway point, and in third place, we look at Ma Barker. Yes, she does have a friendly and warming name, but behind the name is a woman who controlled her own crime family in the decade before Prohibition. Her family committed several bank robberies and left dead bodies strewn behind. It was only after her death that her name really became famous, with J. Edgar Hoover describing her as the most vicious, dangerous, and resourceful criminal brain of the last decade. In 1935, FBI agents found the Barker Gang hideout, which was situated at 13250 East Highway. After a 3-hour-long shootout between FBI agents, Ma Barker and her son Fred Barker were dead in the house. Between them lie a Tommy gun. The gun battle went on for so long, locals gathered around the police perimeter to spectate the event. Ma Barker was only killed by a single bullet, while Fred was riddled. They were the only people in the house. Second in our countdown is Stephanie St. Clair. Queenie, as she was better known, was a Harlem gang leader during the 1920s and 30s. She was very protective of her neighborhood and ran a successful numbers racket, resisting Mafia pressure for some time after Prohibition ended. She never ended up under Mafia control, believe it or not, and with Bumpy Johnson as her chief enforcer, she was well protected from the likes of Dutch Schultz, who was trying to take over her rackets. During the mid-1930s, she formed an alliance with the chairman of the mob, Lucky Luciano, and with the Dutch Schultz assassination in 1935, she was able to keep her operations going, eventually handing them to Bumpy, who became the Harlem Godfather. She died in Harlem in 1969, a wealthy woman. Last on our top 5 can be no other than Virginia Hill, the one name that comes to mind when you think of mob women. Also known as the Queen of Gangster Malls, she was the girlfriend of Bugsy Siegel. Although she was born into a poor family, she was forever on the hunt to become successful and rich. She started off as an accountant for Al Capone in Chicago, before moving to Los Angeles, where Bugsy was working on the Flamingo. She was said to have been a temptress, and reports show that she also had a relationship with Joe Adonis in her adult life. Perhaps she is most famous for being a big player in Bugsy's death. He died in her mansion, and she was coincidentally out of the house at the time of the murder. She soon became wrapped up with the mob and appeared on stand many times, including for the 1951 Keith Valver hearings. She was a feisty character who never ended up becoming an actress, which was one of her dreams. She died from an overdose of sleeping pills in 1966. However, some suspect that she was taken out by the mob. Will we ever know the real fate of Virginia Hill? Maybe that's one thing that we'll never find out. We hope you've enjoyed our Dangerous Dames documentary. Don't forget to subscribe and keep it locked at the NCS.
The men I was around that gave me things were not gangsters or the only time I ever got anything from them was going out and having fun and maybe a few presents.
And when
You're now rocking with the best, NCS Costa Nostra.
Welcome to the Sting of Oz.
The search is over. Every series helps bring you a step closer to the life of the mob without dangerous exposure of what went down, plus mobster of the month. Original content if you're searching on a hunt for the who's who or the best dressed guy, the type of guns they use, the feuds and mob wives. We supply everything as soon as you log on to the National Crime Syndicate.com. From John Gotti to Dawn, back to Mustache Pete, Big Joe, Al Capone, and Maya Lansky. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride, cause the code of silence here no longer applies. So make sure you subscribe and stay tuned in, cause over here we like to keep this thing moving.